Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been one of the hottest topics in the NBA over the last few months. To some fans, he's a legit MVP, an NBA champion, and the coldest scorer in the league. To others, he's overrated. A product of whistles, league marketing, a narrative the NBA wants to sell. But here's the real question. Are people judging SGA purely as a basketball player? Or has he become a target of something deeper? A reflection of the growing social and political tensions in America. Because if you really pay attention, the MVP award and other accolades aren't just about stats anymore. It's become personal, cultural, even racial. Over the past 5 years, the MVP race has mostly been Jokic vs Embiid. Then in the last 2 seasons, it shifted to Jokic vs SGA. And no matter how hard some people try to hide their real feelings, and I mean some pretty deep personal beliefs, the MVP debate has, in some ways, become a race issue. There's tension under the surface, politics in the paint, bias in the box score, and most people, they don't even realize their so-called opinions aren't really theirs. They scroll, they click, they hear one loud take on TikTok or ESPN, and suddenly, they're parroting it like gospels, thinking they've got insight when really, they're just echoing recycled noise. To be clear, I'm not saying every critic is racially motivated, but let's not get hypocritical and act like race, origin, and image don't shape how a lot of people judge NBA superstars. Pretending basketball exists in a vacuum, that's just lazy thinking. So the only real way to break this down objectively is to ask the simple question: how good is SGA actually? Is he catching heat unfairly? Is he just a victim of political crossfire? Or is this whole thing a marketing plan by Adam Silver, who, with a little help from the refs, turned Shai into something he's not? That's the debate. SGA came into the league in 2018, which turned out to be one of the strongest drafts of the 21st century. Shai was picked 11th overall, and he came in hot during his rookie year with the Clippers, the first season after the Lob City era ended in LA. He showed flashes of the kind of player he could become, but the Clippers had other plans. They signed Kawhi Leonard and traded Shai for Pandemic Pete. Paul George. Excuse my French. Doc Rivers later claimed he wanted to keep Shai over PG, but couldn't convince Kawhi. Whether that's true or just PR spin, who knows? Sounds a little shaky though, because if the Clippers really wanted to keep SGA, they would have found a way. I mean, they gave up 5 first-round picks in that trade. That was a record at the time. So yeah, they were all in on PG. SGA landed in the perfect spot to grow. OKC gave him exactly what he needed. Right away, he stepped up as the leader of a young, rebuilding squad. And year by year, he grew with the team. Thanks to Sam Presti stacking up a zillion first-round picks, the Thunder kept adding fresh talent every single season. There was always some new young baller coming in. By his 3rd year, Shai was already putting up 23.7 points per game. The next year, 24.5. But the team still wasn't winning much, well below 500. Then came the 2022-23 season. That's when SGA took a real leap, averaging over 30 points a game, and OKC started turning heads. In 2023-24, he finished 2nd behind Nikola Jokic in the MVP race. But that was just the warm-up for all the drama that followed. Because next season, Shai, as we all know, actually won the MVP, beating out Jokic, who was averaging a historic triple-double. And that's where it gets messy. So here's the big question. How good is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander really? Did he deserve that MVP? Or did Jokic just get robbed? One of the biggest knocks on SGA is that he gets to the free throw line too much. A good way to look at it is by comparing him to Luka Doncic, since they both came into the league the same year. Over 7 seasons, Luka averages 8.2 free throw attempts per game. Shai? He averages 7. For reference, James Harden in his MVP season shot 10.1 free throws a night. And get this, he had 6 other seasons where he averaged 10 a game. His personal record? 11.8 per game. That's wild. MJ in his first MVP season shot 10.5 free throws per game. LeBron? 9.4 in his first MVP year. Kobe had 9. So how many did SGA shoot during his MVP season? 8.8 per game. Yup, less than all of them. Another big thing to keep in mind, Shai's playing in a high-paced era, where teams score more and there are more possessions than ever before. The game's faster, the numbers are bigger, that's just how it is now. So this whole narrative about SGA being some kind of free throw merchant, that falls apart real quick, because the numbers don't lie. He's not getting to the line more than other top guys in league history. In fact, he's getting there less. So yeah, that's the first myth. Busted. And here's a fun fact. If you took away every single free throw from every player in the league during the 2024-25 season, SGA would still be the league's top scorer. Let that sink in. In his MVP season, Shai averaged 32.7 points a game while shooting a crazy efficient 51.9% from the field. Just for comparison, Kobe Bryant never shot above 47% in any season of his career. James Harden? He only did it once. Now that's impressive on its own, but Shai is doing all this while leading his team to the number 1 seed in the West. And let's not forget, this OKC squad is one of the youngest teams in the league, with an average age under 25. And check this out. After OKC and Shai won the Larry O'Brien Trophy, they became the second youngest team in NBA history to win a title. The only team younger? The Portland Trail Blazers from the 1976-77 season. Absolutely stunning. I'm not comparing SGA to Kobe by accident. I've thought about this for a while. Who does Shai really remind me of? He feels like a mix of Kobe and D. Wade. If we go even further back, you could throw in some Penny Hardaway vibes too. Shai is super crafty and shifty, kind of like prime D. Wade. And he's got the same mid-range game, just like Kobe. Though you could argue Shai's actually more efficient, with better shot selection. The big difference? Kobe and Wade were better athletes. Quicker, more explosive, and definitely stronger. They were both around 215 to 220 pounds, while Shai's at least 15 pounds lighter. That leaner build? That's more like what Penny Hardaway had. That's why it's not an overstatement to say nobody in NBA history has the combo Shai brings. That wingspan, the flexibility, the footwork, the creativity, and that soft touch inside the arc. All without needing that classic, explosive athleticism. And when you add a 3-point shot that's not just solid, but getting better every single season, you start to see the full picture of just how unique this dude really is. What's really impressive about Shai is his consistency. It's not just that he plays a ton of games and clearly has a body built to handle the grind of high-level basketball, but he also shows up every single night. You always know what you're getting. He's gonna give you his game, no matter what. And if there's one thing that's the most consistent in his bag, that's the mid-range. Shai brought the mid-range back to life in a league that almost forgot it existed. We've been in this era of advanced stats, where it's all about threes and layups. Everything else is labeled inefficient.
But Shai?
He made that 10 to 16 foot jumper cool again. Now you got kids watching the NBA, heading to practice, and pulling up for middies like it's 2005 again. I'm always super careful when I compare anyone to MJ. But man,
Shai's mid-range game really does give off flashes of his airness.
he doesn't take as many fadeaways as MJ did in the second half of his career, or like Kobe, who tried to copy Mike in every possible way.
But when Shai dribbles to his sweet spot,
Whether it's that short corner or the elbow at a 45, it's straight up poetry in motion. And you know it's going in the second he pulls up. That shot always feels money. Now,
while Shai's got more style and smoothness in his overall vibe,
his middies technically remind me a bit more of Kawhi's. You know how Kawhi gets to his spot, rises up, and it feels like a layup?
yeah, Shai's got that kind of control.
And unlike a lot of today's NBA stars, like Luka or Booker, for example, who are constantly arguing with refs,
Shai just hoops and keeps it quiet.
no drama, no annoying reactions, just straight up game. Now, the haters will say, well, yeah, of course he doesn't complain. He gets every call he wants. But let's be real, I already broke that whole narrative down earlier, fully explained it. So if that was your go-to argument in the debate, you might want to find a new one. After everything I just laid out, are there seriously still people out there doubting SGA's game? Yeah, Jokic had a historic season. No one's taking that away.
But Shai definitely earned that MVP.
And look, I'm always down to hear the other side. I'll listen, but I'm running out of reasons to doubt him. At this point, most of the hate towards SGA feels way more tied to politics and social tension than to anything he's actually done in the basketball court. Because think about it, he ended up winning a ring as the finals MVP and a clear number one guy on a franchise that's one of the least flashy marketing-wise, doesn't spend into the luxury tax, and rolls with one of the youngest squads in the league. Man, I'd love to see what haters gonna twist themselves into a knot trying to tell us he's still not that dude. Good luck with that.